Hello and welcome to today's live stream. I'm Jamie from Stonemaier Games, and I'm here today to talk about, well, a lot of different things, but a big part of what we're talking about is today's newsletter, which looks like this. We'll bounce back and forth between the newsletter and just me today, and maybe some other things as well. But yeah, today is our December newsletter, even though it isn't quite December yet. And there's some big news. We have a big surprise in today's newsletter, which is about a holiday bundle that we put together for 9 completely new realms for Rolling Realms, all of which I have right here. So new and shiny. 9 completely new realms for Rolling Realms that I'll talk about throughout this live cast, I'm sure. Good to see Chad, Martin, Julie, Sander. Thank you for popping in to say hi today. If you're in the U.S., I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving last week. I had a great time seeing my family in Richmond, Virginia, where I'm originally from. My brother and sister and my mom are all there. And we just had a lovely visit. We had a big Thanksgiving at my brother's house, and we spent a few afternoons at my sister's house, played disc golf, played a lot of games. Some of the kids are of age where they can really enjoy games. We played Dragon's Gold. We played Patchwork. I played Patchwork. It was some adorable games with Patchwork with one of my younger nephews. I think he's 4 at this point. It was really adorable. Aaron catching on to that game. Played Spots, Just One, Dude, and Ink and Gold. And part of the fun was that we went to a local game cafe in Richmond, Virginia that I would highly recommend called Unplugged, in case you're ever in the Richmond area or the Midlothian area, specifically in Richmond. It's just a really nice, warm, welcoming game cafe with a lot of great games. We focused kind of on larger group games. We had 7 people, and including two kids. And we just had a blast. We played with them. We played Just One, Ink and Gold, and Dude, and had a lot of fun there. Thank you all for popping in to say hi today. I love seeing you, especially on Newsletter Day when a lot of people join in. Yeah, Ian's very excited about the Rolling Realms drop. I can click over here and show you what we're talking about. So we have 9 completely new realms for Rolling Realms. Here's what they look like. We have Underwater Cities. 2 of these are actually designed by a local friend, Underwater Cities and Potion Explosion. Then we have Can't Stop, Fleet, Praga Kaput Regni, Skoventier, Boon Lake. Finally, the Apiary Realm and Hokkaido are the 9 new realms that we're featuring today. We've bundled them together. Usually we sell them separately for the next 7 days, I think through December 7th, so slightly more than 7 days. You can get this bundle of realms for a steep discount over the usual individual price. If you don't want all 9, that's fine too. You can order them individually now or later, but the bundle price is really, really good. So if you like Rolling Realms, or if you're looking to get into Rolling Realms and get a bunch of promos from the very start, this is a great way to get started. And if anyone wants me to talk in more detail about what Rolling Realms is, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know in the comments. I don't want to assume that anyone knows what this game is. But yeah, I'm going to copy this tab so that we can bounce back and forth between that and the newsletter. There we go. Yeah, here is the newsletter. So we'll come back to this later on. Let me look over and see if there are any comments that I should answer at the beginning. Any questions? Okidoki Creation says that Dragon's Gold is such a gem or hidden gem. Yeah, I agree. Especially if you like Ink and Gold. I think Dragon's Gold goes along well with it. Valerie says that she loves disc golf. Her little community has an 18-hole course. That's awesome. There are a lot of courses in St. Louis. We're very lucky to have a bunch of courses. And in fact, last night, speaking of disc golf, I did something somewhat unexpected. I wasn't really planning this. There's a local place called the City Museum here in St. Louis, where it's not really a museum. It's kind of like a giant, and I mean giant, jungle gym, indoor and outdoor jungle gym. There are some museum elements, but mostly it's a very interactive place. You are moving around in all these weird spaces. It's one of these things that you kind of have to see to understand, even in person, but you could probably Google it and Google the St. Louis City Museum. But last night, the use of this museum was, how many was it? 27 basket disc golf course that was set up there throughout this gigantic museum. 9 baskets were outdoors, which was a little cold for that, but the other 18 were indoors and were a lot of fun. Fun challenges, throwing through things, under things, into dark places. And we just had a blast going through this course last night. It's an annual charity thing run by a few different organizations, and something I'll definitely be doing in the future. But yeah, we had a fun playing a putting only disc golf course last night. Chris says that he's looking forward to getting the Rolling Realms Redux box. So if anyone sees all these realms and they're like, where am I going to put these? They don't fit into my Rolling Realms box. For Rolling Realms Redux, which is a new core set we're releasing next summer. Completely new realms. Again, everything that we release is completely new. No repeats of the past. It'll be in a big box that can hold all Rolling Realms realms. So everything is designed to hold them. It's really just a taller version of the current box. It lets you you'll be able to hold the cards vertically and therefore hold everything. So looking forward to releasing that next summer so you can hold everything. Darius says, he saw on my update that I recently backed Undergrove and Kelp. He's looking forward to those too. Yeah, those are the two crowdfunding projects that I'm backing. They're currently active crowdfunding projects that I'm backing right now that I'm excited about. What are you all backing right now that you're excited about? In fact, that reminds me, usually I'd like to have a fun question of the day. I didn't plan for that today. Actually, yeah, okay. Here's one that I plan to write about tomorrow. So one of the classic crowdfunding things that happens is that you often have, if you do your prep work in advance, you have a lot of backers on the first day or so, and then a lot of backers come back and become backers, potential backers become backers at the very end of the project. But in the middle, not a lot happens sometimes in terms of new backers. Some projects don't go through this slump, but a lot of projects do, especially from established creators where people show up at the very beginning and then many other people hang on until the end. So I'm wondering, what have you seen projects do that attracted you towards the project in the middle of the project? So the topic that I'm going to write about is what can creators do to address the mid-campaign slump, as we sometimes call it. But I'm curious from your perspective, either as a creator or as a backer, what do you see in that middle period that is very effective for you? Tyler mentioned the Stonemaier demographic survey. Tyler, thank you for mentioning that. So yeah, I'll show you that over on the newsletter. We talk about it right here, the annual survey. This is a big deal where we release this annual survey every year where we want to learn more about the people who actively pay attention to Stonemaier games, which we greatly appreciate. But this survey is like the way that we can try to better serve you in the coming year and in the future. So this gives us information about who you are and a lot about your preferences, your gaming preferences, who you are as a gamer right now, so that we can better serve you. And this survey really does make a big difference. It has a big impact on the decisions that we make to better serve you in the coming year. So Tyler, I really appreciate you filling it out. Anyone else? Fill it if you don't mind. We would greatly appreciate if you take a few minutes to fill it out. I've estimated about 2 minutes. There are, I think, around 10 questions in it, just little multiple choice questions. I really appreciate that if you don't mind filling that out. You can see the other big part of the newsletter up here is an area where I talk about the surprise bundle, the 9 new realms, completely new realms: Apiary, Skoventier, Boon Lake, Underwater Cities, Potion Explosion, Praga Kaboot Regni, Can't Stops, Fleet the Dice Game, and Hokkaido. These are all little realms for Rolling Realms that are inspired by these games. And also a little reminder here, if you want to catch up on other 2023 releases from Stonemaier Games, we have Expeditions, the Rubber Playmat, Apiary, the newest game from Stonemaier Games, the Wingspan Vision-Friendly Cards, Fan Art Pack, the Golden Eggs, Tapestry Fantasies and Futures, that was our first release in 2023, and a variety, of course, of other Rolling Realms promos, and the cat-themed t-shirts. I just wore mine the other day. I'll come back to the various updates section a little bit later. For now, I'll just look forward to, I'll look through some of the other comments. Mark says, we enjoyed having you at Unplugged. That's thank you, Mark. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thrown off, Mark. I'm sorry, I'm thrown off because PAX Unplugged is this coming weekend. I was like, wait, has it already happened? It hasn't happened yet. But yes, Mark, thank you so much for having us at PAX at Unplugged Game Cafe in Midlothian, Virginia. We had a blast. I really had a wonderful time there, and I highly suggest anyone else who's in Richmond or driving through Richmond, stop at Unplugged and have a great time. It really is a nice, wonderful, warm environment, and the food is actually quite good too. We just got kind of finger food, snacky food, like some tater tots and some mozzarella sticks and some popcorn. The popcorn smelled really good. So, Mark, thank you so much for hosting us and stopping by to say hi. I really appreciate that. As for PAX Unplugged, as coming this weekend, it's a convention. I won't personally be there, but some members of my team will be there, Alex and Dave, and we'll have a booth in conjunction with MeepleSource there if you want to stop by. And apiary designer Connie Vogelman will actually be there at certain times to sign games and talk about apiary as well. Just looking through some comments here. Let's see, people are saying that they're ordering the promo. Thank you so much for doing that. And this is one of my favorite things about these realms. Donna's comment. Some of these have me wanting to try the games they're based on. We love Potion Explosion. Haven't heard of some of the others. Donna, yeah, this is one of the reasons that we make these realms, both for people to have a distilled experience in rolling realms, but also if you haven't heard of these games, and maybe you like the realm, like the realm gives you a way to try out the game a little bit and see if you like the feel of the game a little bit in realm form. And then if you like the feel of the game in the realm, then you can take a look at the full game. And I don't want to say this happens across the board, but most of the realms that that we feature are games that we really, really love or games that we admire. I don't want to say that as a blanket statement. Like not all of these games are games that hit my table all the time, but for various reasons or various connections to the games, someone on the Stonemaier Games team recommends these games and stands behind them, even though most of them, other than Apiary, are not Stonemaier games. We love talking about games from other publishers too. So yeah, hopefully I love hearing that when people discover games from our realm collection that they wouldn't otherwise have discovered. Hilda mentions them as a good stocking stuffer. I'd add the Wingspan fan art pack to that as well, Hilda. I think that's a great stocking stuffer this year, too. Oh, no, Garrett. Garrett's looking for some positive vibes. I'm so sorry, Garrett. He says, our cat Opal had to have an emergency surgery last night, and her recovery is touch and go. The vet is optimistic that she'll be okay, but we could use all the positive vibes from folks right now. Absolutely, Garrett. Yeah, my heart goes out to you and Allie and your cat Opal. I hope your cat is okay. That's really, really hard, especially the emergency part of it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope they're okay. So Aaron's asking for an overview of Rolling Realms, which I'm happy to provide. So Aaron, a Rolling Realms is an infinitely scaling, expandable roll and write game. It's not a collectible game in any way, but basically, when you sit down to play a game of Rolling Realms, you randomly select 3 different realms. So I could randomly select these realms right here: the Underwater Cities, Hokkaido, and Potion Explosion. And every player would get 1 copy of each of these realms. They look like this. So here's the Underwater Cities realm. They get 1 copy of the realm. And over the course of 9 turns, any player will roll these 2 dice, these 2 big chunky dice, and you'll use the numbers. You'll use one of the numbers that you roll on one of the realms and another number on another realm. You can only activate one of the 3 realms once per turn, once per roll. And then you do it again. You repeat that 9 times. So, and each realm offers a different puzzle where you're trying to earn resources and stars, ideally trying to get 6 stars per realm. And you're getting some resources along the way that you can spend to do things like getting extra numbers and to manipulate the dice into being the dice that you really want them to be. So by infinitely scaling, I mean that any player can roll these dice. They can be in person with you. They could be somewhere across the world, because by design, there's no player interaction in the game. So you can play with any number of people in any location at any time. And for this reason, this is why I have a bunch of Rolling Realms live plays where I play the game, I record it, and I post it online. And you can go back and look at any of these live plays on YouTube from any point in time and play against me, because we can. That's just that we're using the same numbers and the same realms. That's all you need to have. The things that I'm doing are not impacting you, again, by design. So yeah, that's what Rolling Realms is. I'm happy to answer other questions, but it's by design, it's a very simple, streamlined game with a variety and the replayability coming from the different combinations of realms. Let's see. Tyler says, I'm a huge fan of the Red Rising books, as am I, of course, having designed the Red Rising game. Also, Scythe books, Ready Player One. So the Scythe books are actually a series that's unrelated to the Scythe Stonemaier game, as Tyler mentions here. Any fun suggestions for the next read? Well, Tyler, 2 of my favorite books from 2023. There are many books that I could suggest, like any Brandon Sanderson book I love especially his Mistborn series and his Way of King of series. But some other series of books, actually, you're mentioning a lot of dystopian fiction here. So one series I'm reading right now that I'm really enjoying is called The Will of the Many. There's only one book so far, but it has both a fantasy and a dystopian feel to it. Let me think of what are some of the other dystopian books that I've read recently that I've really enjoyed. The other book that I'm reading right now that I'm really enjoying, or book series, is called The Fourth Wing or Fourth Wing. I wouldn't call it dystopian though. High stakes, but not dystopian. What is the last other dystopian fiction I read? I read a lot of dystopian fiction, but it's not coming to mind right now. But yeah, I'd recommend The Will of the Many. Let's see. James says Rolling Realms seems to have been quite successful. Where does it stand in terms of overall sales of Stonemaier games, if I can disclose that? So the thing that I keep track of is units in circulation, James. So let's see. I'm happy to disclose that. It's something I typically disclose once per year, but I'm happy to look it up here. So how many units in circulation for Rolling Realms right now? 43,000 by my last count. I think we have a reprint coming. So it'll be close to around 50,000, which is kind of actually on the lower end of number of games made for our various games. But it's I don't know if I'd quite call it evergreen at this point, but it is one that we do continually sell and support, that we support in a way that is unique to our other games because it is a promo driven game by nature and not exactly by design, but it kind of rapidly became that after we realized that we could release realms for games that weren't published by Stonemaier Games with the permission, with the blessing, and with some compensation to the publishers of those games. A few people are chiming in to say that they've been to the City Museum and really enjoyed it. Miles says, sad I missed playing last night. Miles is a Red Rising artist and a friend and a disc golfing friend here in St. Louis as well. He says, hopefully I can make it to the disc golf event next year. He says, was there a hole on the course that really stood out? So I was talking about how at the City Museum, a giant indoor-outdoor museum and jungle gym here in St. Louis, we played a 27-basket disc golf putting course last night. And maybe the one that stands out to me a little bit in terms of being really, really memorable is that there is a giant white whale sculpture in the museum. And everything in the museum is meant to be interacted with. It's not one of these things where you're not supposed to touch it. You're supposed to touch everything and climb on everything and play on everything. And there was a basket right near the butt of this white whale. And very few of most of us shot at this basket and missed it. I think we had a few go in. And Megan shot her first putt off the butt of the whale, ricocheted off the butt and went into the basket. And we were all like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. You got a putt. I think that was Megan's first basket of the day. And it was a ricochet, which doesn't really happen often in putting at all. And then she did it again. And then she did it again. She did it 3 times in a row. You get 3 shots on these putting courses. And so that was one of the most memorable ones. Just that she repeated the exact same shot, a ricochet shot, and that it hit the basket all 3 times. Pretty incredible. That was probably the most memorable basket. Other than the outdoor ones. The outdoor ones were treacherous because we were throwing like over a parking lot. Discs were going everywhere. Those are pretty crazy. But I think I preferred the indoor ones because I don't want to hit someone's car. None of my baskets did that, but I did see some. None of my discs did that, but I did see some discs hit some cars. Hilda says that she has in Orlando a course that has 3 18-hole courses in one park. That's amazing. That's really cool. I don't know if I have the arm durability to play more than one course in one day, but it's nice to have those options all in one course. James says, how many realms are there currently in Rolling Realms? That's a good question. I think, so there are 11 in the original box that we just released 9 today. And so that's 20. I think there are probably another 20 or so. So around 40 in existence is my best guess estimate right now, around 40. Chad's mentioning a game that he's excited to get. He says, I'm excited that Fox Experiment is about to ship. I actually have my copy. I think it's maybe actively shipping right now, but I am really excited to get that one at the table. I have that one and Bark Avenue and Reviving Kathmandu on my shelf of opportunity right now that I'm really excited to play. I'll scroll through for a few more comments, and then I'll jump back over to the newsletter and talk about a few of the topics in the newsletter today. Let's see here. So Julie mentions my question about the middle of a campaign, the mid-campaign slump. She says, I've become more interested in the middle of a Kickstarter project when some desirable stretch goals are unlocked and the game looks like a better value then. And Julie, let me add on to that comment because I agree. That's a great time to get involved in the project. My question is how do you learn about it at that point? Like, how are you staying in the loop about a project? Because on Kickstarter in particular, if you follow it for like the contact me later, notify me later option, you don't get updates. So are you backing the project at a low level and then getting upgrading to a full pledge during the campaign? Or how are you learning that there more stretch goals have been unlocked? I'm curious about that. So Steve also mentioned stretch goals here. I'll include that in my post. I do want to talk about how people are learning about that, but maybe you're just following along and seeing what has been met. Stretch goals. Paul also mentioned that he's looking for a bigger storage solution for Rolling Realms, which is coming with Rolling Realms Redux. Donna says she likes when project creators ask about feedback and polls to determine how components are designed and included. Dragon Eclipse did that, and it felt really interactive all the way through. Thank you, Donna. I like that. Interactive polls and surveys. So actually, I have an old article on this subject, but it's from 2014. So one of the earlier articles that I wrote about Kickstarter and crowdfunding about the mid-campaign slump. And I think a few of these things are mentioned there, so I'm going to revisit that for this article. But 2014 is a long time ago. So I think it's a good time to revisit a pretty important article for the crowdfunding space. Stormlight pops in with a very nice comment. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for enjoying the 9 new realms, the bundle, the holiday bundle for Rolling Realms. Let's see. Nate says, do you think that Redux will be the end of Rolling Realms, at least for non-Stonemaier realms? Nate, that is the plan. We just have so many realms at this point, and while we're not entirely closing the door on it, I think that might be possible. We'll just have, I think at that point we'll have nearly 70. That seems high, but a lot of different promo realms from a vast variety of games. So I think after Redux is released, especially since we are including a kind of a printed version of the living rulebook that looks at every single realm in existence, that we won't be actively pursuing non-Stonemaier game realms from then on, but we will still release realms for new Stonemaier games, at least for Rolling Realms. Yeah. James has a comment about the middle of the campaign. He says, projects have attracted me in the middle period of a campaign by putting out a variety of content, playthroughs, reviews, design diaries, and interviews, focus on components. Variety is key. I like that a lot, James. I want to copy and paste this comment. It's so good. But variety of content. I'm taking some notes here. Content like playthroughs, design diaries. What else did you mention, James? New reviews, interviews, and highlighting certain components, reviews, interviews, component highlights. So these are often done through project updates, but I'm curious if so I think a lot of the comments actually have so far have been about engaging people who are actively paying attention or people who are already backers, which I think is crucial. I think sometimes too much focus in the mid-campaign slump is on people who aren't backers yet, but I think the biggest advocates for the campaign are your current backers themselves. So I think it's great that you all are focusing some of the comments on the current backers. Chris says, what resources might you recommend for someone who has a game design rattling around in their head with a notepad full of notes to take to the next step, putting something on the table? Chris, that's a great question. I would recommend checking out the resources that we have on the Stonemaier Games website. There is an article here. I'll show you all on my other screen where you can find this article. not article, but a series of articles that shows you how to get started. So let's go over to the other screen here, Chris. Go to Stonemaier Games and go to blog and how to design a tabletop game. And the reason I'm mentioning this specifically is because it has a start here section and a watch and read here section. But especially the start here section, this gives you some things to think about as you are getting started in game design. And then when you're ready to start pursuing kind of some starting steps, in fact, this video might be perhaps the best place to start. 10 steps to design a board game. That's a good place to start if you just want to start with a video that's easy to watch and see what it looks like to get started and start to turn some of those ideas into reality. That's a great question. Let's see. This is a big comment. I don't know if it'll show up on the screen. It does show up. Steve says, a couple of weeks ago, you said your game group often decides what game to play while at game night rather than decide in advance. I presume that means not everyone always knows to play the proposed games, especially new games, and at least one person in the group is prepared to teach the selected game to the group, and that more than one person is ready to teach another game to others. Or is there another practical way to do this? Steve, yeah, that's a great question. At our game nights, I'll leave it up on the screen while I talk. Peek my head just over the comment there. Yeah, always, if we are going to learn a game at game night, someone knows how to play it. Either it's an existing game that someone that we've had on the shelf for quite some time and multiple people know how to play it, or someone has brought it to game night because they're excited about it. They've learned it. They're ready to teach it, and they're ready to play it. The one flip side of the scenario, though, and this came up in a comment recently where on my YouTube channel, is that if you are playing, like sometimes you might be bringing a game to game night in the hopes of playing it, in the hopes of teaching it and showing it to others. But it might be the type of game that is great for others to know about in advance. They might want to have watched a rule video in advance, just so they can have a groundwork, some sort of foundation. Typically, I would say this is for games that take a long time to teach. And so, Steve, I'm glad you asked about this. It's been on my mind a little bit recently because I think that's a good recommendation. If you are bringing a game that has a longer teach to game night, I think it's worth letting the people know in advance to say, hey, if you are also excited to play this game, rather than everyone sitting through a 45-minute teach, watch this video in advance, read the rule book in advance if you are interested in it, and we'll just do a 5-minute overview of the rules, and then we'll jump in and start taking turns. I think that's a considerate approach to the other people at game night for those longer teach games. Leon has a nice comment about my coworker, Joe. He says, Joe was very helpful this morning to help with an issue with my order. I used the wrong card to play. Thank you, Leon, for sharing your good experience with my coworker, Joe. I always appreciate what Joe is doing for customers, especially on busy days like today. Days like today where we release a new product are always extra busy for Joe and Dave in particular, and Susanna for the retail perspective. Chad has a let's see. I love creative names of board game cafes and stores. My local one is on the border of the U.S. and Canada. They are called Border Keep Games. Another local store was called Stomping Grounds. Does anyone else have a local game cafe or a store with a really creative name? Brian has a question about, he's always looking for progress on my open world game. Brian mentions a specific word here that he thinks is associated with the game. Not necessarily true, but how is my open world game going? Brian, I'm having a lot of fun with the design of it. And it is about to enter an important stage of playtesting. So I'm excited to see how this next stage of playtesting goes for my big open world cooperative game. I'm just scrolling through looking for a few questions here. I'll pause here and let's go over and look at the newsletter. Let's share the screen here. Pull this up, go full screen. So the first section again is about the big bundle, the new realms that we're offering for Rolling Realms, the 9 new realms, completely new realms, and other Stonemaier products that you can add to your cart if you're looking to get some holiday presents for yourself or for others. Also, the annual survey, which I mentioned earlier, really a big deal. If you want to take 2 minutes, this is how we can better serve you. So if you want us to better serve you as a Stonemaier customer, please fill out this survey. It really does make a huge difference. It asks questions about who you are, your gaming preferences, how you've seen your gaming preferences change over the last year in particular. We really appreciate that if you fill it out. Other updates, Apiary and the Wingspan fan art pack, they had their retail release the week before Thanksgiving or the Friday before Thanksgiving. So they are now available from retailers worldwide in the English versions. If you go to your local store and they say, hey, we can't get it, we don't have it, they can get it. They can definitely get it, either directly from us or from their distributor. So at the very least, I would say if you go to your store and they say, hey, we don't have it yet, they're not selling it to us. Please ask them to just contact us. We can definitely help if your local store is having trouble getting any of our games. We have multiple ways that we can get our games to any retailer. So please let us know if that is ever the case. PAX Unplugged coming up this weekend. I think it's in Philadelphia. I won't be there, obviously, but my coworkers Dave and Alex will be there. Wingspan Oceania Digital coming soon. December 12th is the release date for Oceania. Long-awaited expansion coming to Wingspan Digital. This is run by Monster Couch, so this is something we get news about at Stonemaier Games. We aren't in control of this, but yeah, we're excited about that. Also, in terms of Wingspan, this was a last-minute addition to the newsletter. It's something that we've been working on for the last week with Travis. We now have a page, a hub for all fan creations for Stonemaier Games. Like, have you seen people post fan-made cards, fan-made gold tiles, bonus cards, things like that? Those are all now going to be kept and sorted on the Stonemaier Games website. They'll actually be linked to Board Game Geek, which is where you can easily submit the files. But we're going to link to them if you let us know about them on our website as well. So you can get you can, whenever you want to try out a fan creation. And along with that, we are now starting a Wingspan monthly newsletter. You can see this here. We also have monthly newsletters, or semi-monthly. We're not going to send them out every month. Whenever there's news, we'll send it out for Expeditions and Scythe, Rolling Realms, Redux, and Apiary. But we're starting a new one for Wingspan, the greater world of Wingspan, all Wingspan content, so that we can keep you up to date about new fan variants to try, Wingspan expansion news, stuff like that. Of course, I'll announce the big stuff in our main newsletter, but if you are particularly curious about a specific game, you can follow along in these newsletters now and get specific content that, not that we won't release it elsewhere, but we know by you signing up for this content that you are specifically interested in, say, Wingspan, and we're going to let you know all the most important news to know about Wingspan in those updates. As usual, we have our big project update chart. I don't think there are any new additions to the chart. I as always, update some of these different elements, but no new additions right now. And yeah, just the rest of the newsletter. Happy to answer any questions about anything deeper into it that I didn't go into detail about. Let's see, Valerie's talking about how her group picks games at game nights. Her group picks a game, and if none of us have played it, we watch how to play it. Okay, so Valerie's group actually does learn the game on the fly. That's fun. Yeah, I wouldn't say that we do that at our game group, just because it can really slow things down. But if your group is opted into that and you have fun with it, by all means, go for it. Chad says that he recently got his copy of Rolling Realms, and he's excited to open it up, give it a try, use some promo realms with it, or use the original realms. I still have fun playing even with the original batch of 11 realms. Some of them are a little bit easier than some of the newer realms, but that's good, I think, to have a mix of more difficult realms and easier realms. And the great thing about Rolling Realms, in my opinion, is that everyone's using the same dice. Everyone's using the same exact 3 realms. So there's a completely even playing field every time you play. So even if you have a combination where it's nearly impossible to get 18 stars, it's nearly impossible for all the players, not just you, to do that. Sam says that Jay Cormier ran an actual game of Mind Management during its mid-campaign. Oh, that's cool. Talking about the mid-campaign slump. It's a great way to keep back our excitement, but not sure how it translated to more pledges. Jay, I think, has a decent YouTube presence. So yeah, live plays and playthroughs. I mentioned playthroughs, but I'll add live plays to that. Live plays, especially if backers can participate in the live plays somehow. I like that idea. Brick says, thank you for the deeper discount you give items at launch. Do you find sales are increased during this window or more after the game has been in the wild for a while? Definitely, Rick. I mean, we we like people to buy our games in the way that they prefer to buy them, in the place that they prefer to buy them, whether it's from our web store or the local store, online store, um, wherever they want to buy our games. But it is definitely helpful for us to have some direct sales, and so one of the ways that we try to entice people into buying from us direct is to offer our games at a discount, with the ideally the best sale price being when we originally launched the game. And Rick, as a result of that and the fact that you're getting it before anyone else, really, you're getting it when we have a launch product, the retail release isn't for a few months later, things like that. Um, we do discount the game, and we do see a huge percentage of sales happen right away. If the game is a game that it becomes an evergreen game, a very successful game that people want and continually want, over the lifespan of that game, we will see more sales than that initial launch day. But for that initial launch day, we typically see, a huge number of sales for our products. Um, yeah, a lot of people. I don't know, Garrett, if you're seeing the comments, but a lot of people are sending positive vibes for your cat Opal. That Opal recovers well. Rolling Rate says, will all the different realms be added to the Steam version eventually? I'm glad you mentioned this. There is a Steam version, a digital version of Rolling Realms. And I don't know. It's a good question. I am open to more, or I'm open to promo realms being added to the Steam version, but it's up to the developer if they want to spend time on it. I don't think the Steam version has made a lot of money for the developer. And so if more people buy the Steam version, I think the developer is more likely to support it by adding some of the promo realms. Jim Can Plays Board Game says, is there a bundle to get the base game and all of the promos? Jen, great question. So the answer is no. We don't bundle anything that we've already released for Rolling Realms. So the way to get anything that we've already released for Rolling Realms is to buy the realms individually. And we always put realms and the core game on sale whenever we release new realms. So right now, where we have this new realm release, everything for Rolling Realms is available at a when you put it in your cart, you'll see a little discount on everything. There's basically a 10% price reduction on everything for Rolling Realms. But no, we don't offer bundles for past products, past things that we've already released for Rolling Realms. So that's why the bundle that we're doing for Rolling Realms this time is for all new realms. I will say that even Rolling Realms, the core game itself, is on sale for starting now through December. And so if you are looking to get into Rolling Realms, this is a great time to get into it because the core game is cheaper than most times. I don't want to say than ever before, but it's a pretty steep discount on the game right now. Oh yeah, okay. Nathan recommended. Nathan mentions the Children of Time book was one that I mentioned that he really enjoyed. It's dystopian and futuristic all at once. Thank you, Nathan, for mentioning that. And yeah, I do love the Children of Time series. Hilda recommends the Silo books like Shift, Wool, and Dust. I've most recently enjoyed the Apple TV series for Silo. A few people are also mentioning excitement for other games that they're receiving. Let's see. Taurus has a question. Picked up Clank Legacy and watched my favorite mechanism video for it. Yeah, I love playing through Clank Legacy. One thing I thought of after watching was the idea of spoilers in board games. Do you think spoilers are a big deal in games? In some games, I think they are. I think they are. Like I tried to avoid spoilers unless I did a spoiler video for Clank Legacy that I'm forgetting. But if I did, I would have made it very clear there are spoilers in it. But yeah, I think for certain games, part of the fun is discovering them on your own, discovering elements of the games without someone telling you what those elements are. I think that happens in particular in people don't want to hear about. So I think I'm curious if anyone watching that, did I just completely go out, or did you just not see my video for a while and just hear my audio? Let me know. But yeah, it's a tricky thing to where you're balancing. I want people to talk about this game, but I don't want them to give away stuff that other people haven't discovered yet. So it's a challenge. But I think for games with discovery, I think spoilers are part of it. Let's see. Donna says, I'm very happy that you reprinted Ignorance is Bliss. Thank you. We had Euphoria and Ignorance is Bliss come into back into stock last month. Any suggestions when learning to play Euphoria with expansion or without for the first few games? It's a good question, Donna. So for a lot of the things in the expansion are like things that you don't combine with the core game. Like you either play with the recruits from the expansion or you play with the recruit cards from the core game. So one or the other. I don't think it really matters which one you start with there. You might as well start with the core game. Later on, you can use the expansion ones. The Bazaar, I think, is probably worth playing with from the very first game, and the rule about rolling doubles. So the two things, the Artifacts Bazaar, it just gives you some face-up artifact cards to choose from instead of having to be a face-down deck. I think it works well. It's very easy to use and play with. And the variant rule that we added with the expansion is that whenever you have doubles at the beginning of your turn, that for you to place after the first die you place, if you want to place the other dice that match that original die, that you need to pay 1 morale per die to do that. I think it's a nice balancing act between those lucky rolls that feel good to have those feel good moments in the games, but it's a good balancing act. I encourage using that from game 1. So I'd use those elements, and then the other elements can come into play later. Yeah. Big Dan is here. He says, I just started reading Red Rising after buying the game, enjoying both very much. And oh, cool. I'm currently adapting a stage play from a book, which has been 5 years in the making. So appreciate the effort into adaptation. I'm very curious, Dan, when you're allowed to share what that is. I'd love to hear what you're working on adapting right now. That's exciting. Commodore says, am I recognized locally in my city? Am I mini famous? I'm not famous. I'm not recognized locally in my city. I think only twice ever have I been recognized as a very, very small public figure. One was at a local farmer's market by a gamer who I've become good friends with, my friend Pete. And one other time that I'm blanking with right now, but it was a fairly random occurrence. But yeah, no, no one ever recognizes who I am, and I prefer it that way. I'm flattered if someone does ever happen to see me. Just as I would get excited about seeing a designer that I admire or love, a publisher I love, an author that I love. Please say hi. Like I that would be incredible for me to meet someone who enjoys my work. But yeah, but it has only happened like twice ever. Outside of gaming situations, like if I go to Geekway to the West here in St. Louis, a game convention, then people are also very gracious to come up and say hi, and that means a lot to me there as well. Let's see. Heather says, "What's the difference between Rolling Realms versus Rolling Realms Redux?" Great question. There's no difference in the core gameplay, so it's the same exact game. What it is just it's a new core set, in that Rolling Realms Redux has 12 different realms that we will not have released before then, opposed to the 11 realms in the Rolling Realms core set box. So like in the Rolling Realms core set box, we have realms like Viticulture, we have a Red Rising realm, we have unless that one came later, can't remember if that one came later, but yeah, Viticulture, Charterstone, realms based on the first 11 Stonemaier games. And then in the Rolling Realms Redux box, let's see which ones we've revealed so far. Some of the realms in that box are, I'll pull up. So we've revealed some of them so far. So the main difference is just different realms. We will have the same big chunky dice, but we'll have them in different colors. But otherwise, same rules. And the other difference is that it'll be a bigger box so that it can hold all Rolling Realms components in one box. But there won't be any overlap or redundancy in terms of the realms between Rolling Realms Redux and any previously released promo realms or the original core set. So let's see, the realms that we've released so far, that we've revealed so far for Rolling Realms Redux are Spaceship Poker, Edoa, Legacy of You, and Planet Unknown are the ones that we've revealed so far. Jason said, what are my thoughts on writing down your planned moves when playing a game? I find it helps organize my thought process. Is this cheating? He also says, I love the City Museum. As long as it doesn't impede or hurt the experience for the other players, I think anything is fair game. And I'm glad you found a way to organize your thoughts. I usually kind of like plan ahead with the tokens, the components of the game, if I can use those to plan ahead. But writing down is a fine idea. And I think that more likely than not, you are probably helping other players by doing that so that you know when it gets to your turn that you're ready to go, that you've already planned it out. You can go ahead and execute it rather than slowing the game down by taking a long time on your turn. So yeah, I definitely don't think it's cheating by any means. Valerie has a book recommendation. I'm always happy to hear book and TV and movie recommendations. She says, reading Moon of the Crusted Snow right now. So far, amazing dystopian themed. The Anishinaabe people of Canada were pushed to the frozen north, very Canadian and apropos with winter coming. Reading Moon of the Crusted Snow. I'm going to make a quick note of that before I forget. Moon of the, here we go, Crusted Snow. Thank you for that recommendation. So I have a few other comments here. I'm going to mention a few other things from my list real quick if I have anything else. Oh yeah, the things that we've been car and we listened to some comedy specials from Mike Birbiglia and Pete Holmes that we really enjoyed. We're watching Survivor and the Great British Baking Show, not on the road, but in general. And we're also watching the show Killing It. The book I'm reading right now is called Iron Flame. It's the second in the fourth wing book series. And so that's what I'm reading. And some of the podcasts we listen to one that I continue to enjoy, a comedy podcast called Bad Dates, and also a few Survivor podcasts and a podcast called You're Wrong About, which looks at kind of pop culture things that have happened in the past and what we remember about them versus what turned out to be true or what was actually true about that event. That's You're Wrong About. It's a good podcast. Also, just a quick reminder that Rolling Realms Game 60 is coming up next week. One of the things that we do with Rolling Realms beyond publishing official realms is that every 10 games when I do my live plays, I play realms, fan design realms. So realms that aren't published, that aren't official, they're just designed by fans, and we play through those realms instead of using official realms. So that's happening in game 60 next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, around 3 p.m. Central Time, St. Louis time is when I'll be playing those realms on YouTube and in the Rolling Realms channel. So, question about a big box to hold all Rolling Realms. Yes, that's actually what part of what Rolling Realms Redux is. It's a new core set, but it's also a bigger box, so it's designed to hold all Rolling Realms components. That'll be available probably Q3 of 2024. And also someone else who knows the Unplugged Game Cafe in Richmond, Virginia. That's awesome that you have such a great cafe in your area. We're lucky to have Pieces Game Cafe here in St. Louis. Sanders says, do you know of the fan-made realms of BGG? Yes, actually, this ties into what I was just saying about Game 60. They said, do you keep some of them in mind when making new realms, and did you already try some of them out? Yeah, I played many of them. Game 40 and Game 50, I played many of them, and every now and then one really stands out that we have considered for publication, and there are a few of them in here, designed by some fans, or at least the initial design was designed by a fan. We usually go in and develop it and hone it and make it better, and work with the publisher a little bit. Yeah. Let's see. Heather says, can't you follow a person too to get their updates? So talking about following along on a Kickstarter campaign, I think is what you're referring to, Heather. And yes, you can follow along on Kickstarter to see what other people have backed. But I don't know if that gives you project updates, even if you're following a creator. It just gives you a launch update typically. Tony says, have you thought about adding variants to Rolling Realms, like 3 dice, 4 realms? We have talked about it and explored it a little bit, but the way that we've implemented it is through the Risky Rewards mini expansion. This is something that looks like a promo pack, but really it is a mini expansion that adds a few little twists, like a few extra abilities that you can gain and use while you're playing. Let's see. Corey, sorry, Corey. Corey says, did anyone pick up any games from their local game stores, their local businesses, supporting small businesses on Small Business Saturday? Corey got Red Cathedral, Winter Blind Business, Regine, Sleeping Gods, and 2 new Lorcana starter decks. I'm curious about the new Lorcana release. We haven't gotten to play that yet. We've just still and actually haven't opened all our packs from the original release. Micah says unlocks can be seen from the main campaign page. So I'm talking about the mid-campaign slump and seeing what has been unlocked. And Micah, you're right. You can go if you're actively looking at a project that you can go and see what's been unlocked. I don't know. So yeah, here's Julie answering that. She typically goes back and checks the page from time to time to see what's going on with that project. Stormlight says, which of your games has the best profit margin, or are they all similar? I assume Rolling Realms, including promos, is very high on the list as it's fairly cheap to produce and ship. Well, that's the thing. Any of our games that are less expensive to produce and ship come with a lower price too. So lower cost, lower landed cost equals lower price. So the margins don't exactly remain the same, but I would say the best margins are actually on our more expensive games when we sell them on our web store. So if we have a game like Scythe, Scythe has a fairly high cost of manufacturing and cost of shipping, freight shipping. So the landed cost is fairly high. And so the MSRP is usually around 5 times that amount, because that's the amount that we need to sell it to distributors for. We sell it to distributors at a 60% discount. There's a whole formula that goes into it, but it's a 5 times multiplier. But that means on our web store, we're able to discount Scythe a little bit more and still get a pretty healthy margin on it. So it's really the more expensive games that have the better margin. Yeah, because any games that have a lower cost also have a much lower price for consumers. Yeah. Let's see. Ian says, when I follow along campaigns, I will go into Kickstarter and check what I'm following and look at the percent funded. So he is actively looking at the Kickstarter campaign. Looks like I'm well behind on comments. So let me focus on a few questions real quick to end up. Sorry for getting so far behind here. Monkey Butler says, how would you interact with a Kickstarter publisher who has passed off fulfillment to another company and is not being responsive to missed deliveries? I've never had this experience with a creator. Yeah, it's an interesting time in fulfillment right now, because every fulfillment company has their own customer service as well, and they're somewhat responsible. I mean, they are responsible for the fulfillment part of the campaign at that point. But for a creator to just not be responsive, that's not good either. It's their responsibility to be responsive. So I would try to address it both ways. So if you're writing an email about a specific order and they're not doing a great job with fulfillment, send the email both to the creator and to the fulfillment company, because the creator needs to know about it and maybe they can respond to it, but they may not be able to act on it. They may not have the information that the fulfillment company has about that specific order. So you need to include them as well in that query. Felipe says, how do you determine when a game is balanced? Is it just when the data says people win an equal amount with different options? Is there a way to do it from the game's internal math? Good question. I think part of it does come from the math of a project, of a game, looking at how you balanced the value of money in the game versus victory points versus different resources, costs, things like that. That's part of it. But part of it is just play testing it a lot, not just you, but also blind play testing and gathering that data and analyzing that data to see, to look to see how the final scores are turning out. Really, is if it is a game that comes down to victory points. So we work with a data analyst who looks at all these different variances, because you're not just looking at final scores, but you're also looking at final scores by player count and by different forms of asymmetry, things like that. So gathering that data and looking at it from the perspective of a deep analysis, I think, is really crucial to determine when the game is as balanced as you can possibly make it before going to print. Julie mentions some things that Cardboard Alchemy has done, that we're getting some doing some puzzles during the campaign. Yeah, I like the puzzles, keeping her engaged. Thank you for mentioning that, Julie. I've heard some people speak highly of those puzzles. Ryan says, anything you can share regarding the upcoming Expeditions expansion? Ryan, the best way to get news about that is our Expeditions Scythe specific semi-monthly newsletter where we talk a little bit about that sort of topic. The thing that we've revealed so far is that there are 2 new mechs included in the expansion. So we'll have a version of the expansion with 2 plastic mechs, plastic versions of those mechs, and a version with 2 metal versions of those mechs. Or metal, not 2 versions, but metal versions of those 2 mechs. George says, what have you been playing lately? He said, I tried Dune Imperium for the first time. George wasn't impressed. I had a blast the first time I played Dune Imperium and every other time I played Dune Imperium. But the games that I played recently are Blob Party, Dragon's Gold, Nucleum, Patchwork, Spots, Just One, Dude, and Ink and Gold. So a lot of larger, lighter group games because I played them most of it with my family over the holidays. Blob Party was a huge hit. It's rapidly climbing my top 10 list of 2023. Fantastic large group cooperative game. And Nucleum, got to play Nucleum last Monday. And that's the opposite end of the spectrum, very heavy game. I had a great time with around 80% of the game. There was a 20% that was really tough for me to grasp and understand in that first play, but I had a great time with the other 80% of the game. I'm gonna scroll through comments a little bit here because I know I'm way behind. John says, what experiences do you have with Magic the Gathering and what is your preferred way of playing it? Have you explored formats such as Commander and tried Jumpstarts, for instance? I played Commander once. I played Jumpstart a couple different times. I think it is a fun format. My preferred way to play it now is through Draft. I've played Magic my whole life, or not my whole life, but since I was around 12 or 13 in different formats. But I found as an adult now, that my preferred way, whenever a new set comes out, or oftentimes when a new set comes out, I'll buy a bunch of packs. I'll invite friends over, and we'll do a round robin draft. We'll draft and then play one game, not one match, one game against each other player, and just get a feel for it. Just kind of treat it as a more of a tabletop board game in that way, where you're just playing it once. Well, that's not really a good example, but we're not drafting competitively. We're not keeping the cards. We're not creating a meta. We're just playing that day and then setting it aside, leaving it behind. So that is my preferred way to play. Let's see. Peter says, what's the Libertalia promo pack? Is that for Rolling Realms? That's a promo that we're making for Libertalia, our Libertalia game. We haven't announced what it is yet, but it's something that we have in the works. Let's see. Question about our annual survey. Your survey asks, how many digital versions of tabletop games did you play this year that inspired you to buy the physical game? However, I actually play the physical copy first with people. That's totally fine too. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, this is us digging into how do the existence of digital games impact people's buying behavior for tabletop games is the reason for that question. Sandra says, how do I feel about the fan-made realms on Board Game Geek? Sandra, I think I'm a little bit in the past here for that question, but you've probably heard the answer in the future, where I think it's amazing that people are creating fan-designed realms. I've played them, I enjoy them, and I'm playing in game 60, live playing a bunch of them. Let's see, Curtis. Will Rolling Realms bundle ship right away and expect to arrive before Christmas? Absolutely, yeah. It's in stock. It's ready to ship. I don't know if it'll ship right away today. It might take a week or so, depending on how many orders each of our fulfillment centers get. And their fulfillment centers are probably catching up over all the sales that have happened for various companies over the last week. But yes, it's ready to ship right away, and you should have it in your hands well before Christmas. The Champion Faction says, can you imagine a board game rental service like Blockbuster or early days Netflix for a small fee people get a chance to play games without investing in the actual purchase? Will it mitigate FOMO, fear of missing out? I think a few of these services actually do exist. I don't think they've really taken off, though. And my theory on that is that conventions and board game cafes and to a that way they often have access to those services, and the people who want to have that collector's feel with it, that ownership feel over the games, they aren't interested in renting a game. They want to actually play the game. And also actually online versions of games also have somewhat, I think, provided that service of testing a game before buying it, as have reviews. There's so many different ways of seeing if a game is for you, and so that's why I don't think I've seen any of those rental services really take off. Skylar says, have I had a chance to jump back into designing more Red Rising content? It's something that we're playing around with, Skylar. dabbling in a little bit. We'll see if we come up with something worth publishing. Micah says, do you have any feedback for including a QR code for instructions versus printed instructions on a poker-sized tuck box game that has numerous game modes designed into it? I've seen this happen in very few games, and I've seen people kind of get frustrated about it, Micah. So I generally recommend including the rules, the printed rules in the game. I think people like to look at the printed rules, even if you say in the rules, hey, you can see a bigger version of these rules if you go. Let's see, Carol says, I'm going to try to find a few quick questions real quick. It seems like my computer or my Wi-Fi is glitching a little bit. Yeah, I'm getting some frozen here. So let's do this. I know I'm going to miss out on some questions here. I know I have missed out on some questions for sure. But I seem to be glitching a little bit. I am at 11 o'clock. If I missed your question, I'm gonna end the live stream now. If I missed your question, post it in the comments of the YouTube version of the video, and I'll answer there for sure. I'll answer Carol's question last since it's on the screen here. Is there a checklist somewhere for all the Rolling Realms promo that people could use? There is not a checklist per se, but on our website, there is a place where you can see all this stuff. Here we go. It's under Rolling Realms and Promo Realms. So if you go here, you might need to refresh. I think, yeah, looks like Dave is updating the page today, but this is where you can see all the different promo realms that we have for Rolling Realms. That's on our website, promo Rolling Realms and then Promo Realms. You can see everything here. All right, I'm going to log off here because I'm at time and because computer's glitching a little bit, it looks like. Sorry about that. But let me know any other questions that you have or any questions that I missed. Please post them in the comments of the YouTube version of this video, which will be live and available as soon as I end this stream. So feel free to check it out then. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope you enjoy the new promo realms. And I will hopefully see you next week for game 60, which will include a bunch of fan design realms that you can print at home. You can see some information about that on Discord, on the Rolling Realms Facebook group, and on Board Game Geek. I'll see you then. Take care. Have a good week. Bye.